You know, it's my belief that at a certain price point, we are allowed to complain about everything. But I also think that at a certain price point, you might have some complaints, but you also need to kind of carry yourself and think, like, I only pay this much for it. That's kind of like everything in life, not just necessarily everyday carry, prep, survival, man cave type stuff. That also applies to stuff for food items or microphones or TVs or whatever. And I know that for a lot of things, we oftentimes will let something slide because of the price point. So we will let, for instance, if you decide to roll your ass down and pick up a TCL TV and it has horrible colors and bad viewing angles, and sometimes one of the parts of the screen dims, but it was 65 inches and it cost you $220, you're probably like less inclined to complain. Well, unless you just complain about everything, right? But if you decide to spend $4,700 on an OLED TV and it has the best colors and it gives you a bath at night and it also will rock you to sleep and all this other stuff, and it doesn't do any of those things well, then you're going to be ready to shit yourself at any specific given moment. Where's the price deviation? Where's the price line? Where do we think something makes sense in everyday carry to where we should complain about it or have any specific complaints about it? It's weird because I don't really know where that line is. There's just such a big price gap in almost everything that we do in everyday carry that I think for me, I have a specific price that I like to complain about shit or have high expectations for stuff. But I don't know if I'm right. And I think that's a discussion we can have today. So, first off, your money is hard earned, unless you're like stinking rich or some stuff like that. But for the most part, you work hard for your money. And even if you don't work hard for your money, that doesn't mean that you should be easily or quickly separated from your money for no particular reason. I know I work hard for my money. So whenever you are about to buy something, you're always trying to figure out, does that have any value? I hear about this all the time on YouTube videos because somebody will comment on my YouTube video and be like, oh no, $150, way too expensive, unsubscribe. First off, I think it's hilarious that you put in your comments that you're unsubscribing. That's just, I've never announced when I'm about to do something. Like, that's just like me, vagina, I'm about to insert. No, I don't announce it. Okay. So that normally lets me know you're incel. If you don't like something I'm doing, you just unsubscribe. There is no reason to announce it beforehand. Car, I'm ready to wash. That's just weird to me. But the point being is, like, when someone sees pricing or something like that, they have in their mind what something should cost. And I kind of agree with you. And I think that we need to really have a really good determination for what's fair and reasonable, what's a price that we should be willing to pay, a price that we shouldn't be willing to pay. And it goes for a number of items. So one of the categories, I think like one of the most common categories that we think about most often is knives. A lot of times it's folding knives, it's, fixed blades and stuff like that. But the market, I think that the market for folding knives is so incredibly saturated that you can almost find value at any price point once you get above 40 bucks. But fixed blade knives are like a whole different beast. And people are starting to like more and more get into fixed blade knives. And I don't know at what point the pricing that you're paying for something makes a lot of sense. Let me finish making this shot because I want to get my shit together. Just fuck that up. Hold on. There we go. And then we'll talk about these knives right here. So people have asked on the last couple of videos, like, what am I doing over here? I'm making a shot of espresso, which is 18 grams of coffee, grind it up, put into a puck, and then I take it. Once it's into a little puck like this, let me go the other way. Once into a little puck like this, then I take it. I normally will try to clean up the extra grounds, and I put this into my little espresso machine, and from here, I'm making coffee. So at the end of the day, coffee is just, coffee is just the process of putting hot water through coffee beans that have been ground up. And then there's just different levels of shitty coffee and good coffee. But I'm a big fan of good coffee. But the point is like, first we take a look at this, right? So we have fixed blade knives, and the category of fixed blade knives seems to be like more people are getting into it, and hopefully more everyday carry type of fixed blade knives continue to present themselves. So you got something like this, which is the Kaiser Justice 2, which is a D2 knife. It's freaking really big, which I'm okay with. It also has a few things about it that I don't like. The fact that, oh, wait a minute, I got an error. Hold on. What happened? Here. Oh, oh man, hold on. There we go. There we go. All right, we'll get our ducks in a row. My water got jammed up. This is an emergency. This is an emergency. Let's do it again. Okay. This knife here is D2 steel. It's a big chunky knife, something that you may not want to EDC. It may not make a lot of sense to EDC this thing, but it has a lot of things I complain about. I've talked about before. The sheath is like super loose, and it came like this from factory, and it doesn't have a way to attach the sheath to your body, whether it be a belt clip or whatever. And it just has like this glass breaker on the end, which almost makes no sense whatsoever. So there's a lot of things that are able to be complained about for this thing, but when it's sub 80 bucks, I think it's like around the $50 mark. Don't quote me on that. You start to forgive a lot of things for it. You start to live like, we know I can find an aftermarket sheath, or I can do this, or I can do that. So you have those complaints. Then you got something like the Benchmade Bushcrafter, which is what I used to take with me when I went hunting, which I'm a big fan of the full, how thick the knife is, the full tang that you're getting out of this thing, but it's not very comfortable when you're actually starting to finally process a kill or something like that. And it's kind of pricey. Like, this is over $200. It's Benchmade, the Benchmade tax. But it does have S30V steel, and it is a well-designed knife, minus the fact that it's a little uncomfortable once for extended use, but it does have a really good sheath where you can have an area here if you want to put a ferro rod or something else that's approximately the same length, and you can attach this to your belt, or you can just hang it with it. It's a lot of different versatility with this knife, but it's something you wouldn't EDC, and that might make you think to yourself, this knife is so limiting. Like, I only can use that knife for the purposes of hunting, and it doesn't make a lot of sense for me, right? But then you get something which may almost be considered to be the perfect everyday carry knife, which is the Montana Knife Company. This is the Blackfoot. They also have the Speedgo, which is its little baby cousin. It's actually, but this is probably the perfect, I say perfect, but one of the best EDC knives where you don't look like a weirdo because the blade shape is very, very tolerable. The blade length is tolerable. It's full tang, so if you need that for everyday carry, you can use this from everything from packaging to doing kills. But 3 different price points, where this is $300, this is north of $200. I don't remember the exact price. And then you got the Kaiser, which is clearly around the $50 mark, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. Where do I know that the pricing is fair and reasonable in my mind? I don't know. But I know that for these knives that are over 150 bucks, I'm allowed to complain about everything. The handle doesn't feel good. The sheath sucks. It slips out your hand if your hands or have water or blood on them. I'm complaining about the sheaths. Everything's getting complained about. But is that a fair thing to do? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. What about like multi-tools? So multi-tools, if you carry them, they have a wide ranging of prices. And a lot of clones are starting to come out that are getting really good. Sometimes they're not as stable as the real thing. But for me personally, in my mind, for multi-tools, once I pass, really honestly, the $100 mark, I'm complaining about every fucking thing, okay? I have the Leatherman Wave here, and then I have the Gerber Dual Force. The Gerber Dual Force MSRPs for $99. Regularly, you can get this thing for like 69, 79 bucks. One time it dropped down to 50 bucks. At that price point, there's like little to complain about. And the fact that this is missing a pocket clip, it's really bulky, and it doesn't really have like standard pliers for a multi-tool, as in like the long nose. It's just like more traditional, which is that if that's what you want, then so be it. It doesn't have barely any tools whatsoever. It literally gives you the 4 tools on the outside, which is the long driver. You get a pretty decent file, and with the pry bar at the end, which you can use for digging or whatever, you get a saw, and you get a regular knife that also includes a little area for you to hold additional full-size bits. But that's it. You're not getting, a carbon fiber scraper. You're not getting, all scissors and all the knickknacks that you might get with other multi-tools. But this is, it's pretty cut and dry. It kind of hurts in your hand when you're using the pliers. It's like sharp edges. And then you got something like the Leatherman Wave. This gives you all sorts of stuff, right? You get the tool implements on the outside. This is one of the most popular multi-tools ever, where you get the saw, you get the regular blade, and you also get the diamond file, which people cream themselves over. And then you get all sorts of more tools on the inside of the Wave as well. And this is a great multi-tool, but I still can find reasons to complain about it. It doesn't have a pocket clip. Overall, some of the tools I don't particularly need. Like, I don't particularly need a saw. I get it for taking out small branches and stuff like that. It does have the micro driver, and I have never used a micro driver on any of my multi-tools more than like once. But it does have this micro driver if you need to make an adjustment to some glasses or something like that. So it has tool implements that I wouldn't need, and I would have to take this apart and do modifications. This thing's normally north of $100. I picked this one up for $84 on base one time, but regularly this thing's between $110 and $140. Just depends on Amazon pricing. You can go directly to Leatherman's website. Where's the complaint point? Where should I start complaining about this this multi-tool? That's a good cup of Americano. I don't know. I guess one of the biggest things is like, what about direct competitors with one another? This is when you really start to examine, like, is the money worth it? This is the Waterfill Sutter Sling Bag. This is designed for tablets and maybe, really tablets, 11-inch iPads, stuff like that. This is the Nutsack Morale Sling. They are like direct competitors with one another. They even have the same MSRP of $189. And at this price point, I think you're allowed to complain about everything. Everything. And mainly because, they both have their pros and cons. For as the Nutsack Sling Bag is, I think, looks really, really good. You can convert this into a backpack. You can also use this as a sling bag. But it does have things about it that I'm not a big fan of. Like the inside, I think they could have took a little bit more thought, maybe sewn some nylon in here and give a contrasting color. Also, some of this molle doesn't seem to be very flexible. It doesn't seem to be standard size molle. So for instance, this is standard size molle, but I would have liked to have some different options for different lengths, like make some of these like larger slip size so I can put things like bigger flashlights and multi-tools. Like I didn't want the whole thing to be molle. Maybe give me half Velcro, whatever. Also, this inside pocket shares space with the outside pocket, so you got to be careful how much stuff you put inside. This is my second sizing for this sling bag. I used to have the regular Nutsack sling bag, and I got the Morale sling, which has the loop and panel on the front. But when my old one did get a little bit of discoloration on the inside. So, there are things that you can complain about with this thing. And then you look at something like the Waterfill Sling, same exact price. They did a lot of things inside, which I'm a big fan of. Like they did take that additional step to sew in a little bit of nylon to give you some contrast in color. But it's not very utilitarian at all. Every single pocket on the inside, except for one, are all the same size. This is the size for a pen. That's the size for a pen. 3 pen size pockets. Why? You got a bigger pocket in the middle, whoop-de-freaking do, but I would have liked a little bit more utilitarian out of it. But I still like this thing. And it costs, I think, $25 additional for a grab handle. I don't know. But then you look at something like the Tom Talk. Sucking my job. Let me go get a Tom Talk. One job, X. Did this last video. One freaking job. All right. Get some freaking Tom Talks. Here we go. Then you get something that's not a direct competitor because of the sizing. You can't fit a 11-inch iPad in here, but they make stuff that is similar where you can. But this is the Tom Talk Sling Bag. And I've done a full review on this. This is one that I purchased. Full disclosure, Tom Talk has sent me shit before. Matter of fact, those other two bags, those companies sent those to me. So just to kind of let you know about it. But there's a lot less complaining you can do at this price point. This thing MSRPs for like $47, $50, but oftentimes you can get it on sale for $41, $39. And you're getting so much value out of this thing. All sorts of slip pockets on the inside. You got a back pocket in the back where you can hide crap. Pocket in the front. It looks, in my opinion, pretty aesthetically pleasing. I have different versions which have like hyper orange interiors and hyper blue interiors. Pretty decent sling strap. And it's just like, well, how much complaining can I do for $41? I don't know. I think our expectations of everyday carry, we really need to like think about where's our complaint point? Where's the point of which we should be able to complain about everything? For pocket knives, I honestly don't really know where the price is. I want to know what your comments down below. At what point should we be able to complain about everything when it comes to a pocket knife? Because if you're getting a knife that's made of composite materials, such as micarta or carbon fiber or G10, and so in theory, there should be a lot of control over that because those are all man-made materials. So maybe we should be able to complain about everything. Oh, this doesn't feel right. This isn't put together well. But if you're getting something that's made of titanium or of stainless steel, maybe even of aluminum, like, where's the complaint point for that? I really don't know. That's why it's hard for me to recommend knives to people when they're going to be bitching, moaning, complaining about everything. So I'll just tell you my personal areas for some of these, which is the multi-tools, anything over 100. These fixed blades for everyday carry, once they kind of cross over like $125, I should be able to complain about everything. Flashlights, in my opinion, once you're over the $60 mark, I should be able to complain about everything because there's just so many flashlights below 60 that are great value, which I shouldn't expect too much out of. But these folding pocket knives, I don't know, man. I'm gonna leave that up to y'all because I actually have shit to do. It's a pretty good cup of coffee. You should give it a whirl. I'll probably give y'all a full tour of my coffee mess and my man cave desk and just my man cave in general soon. Comment #sand down below. That lets me know that you're interested on me doing that tour. That's all I got, man. I'll catch y'all later.